everyone! In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some plants that I think are wonderful for college students. I am a plant mom. I absolutely love plants, and my dorm last year was full of them. Most of which did really well, some of which did not, and I learned a lot about what plants do well at college from keeping a bunch of them in a dorm. In this video, I'm going to be giving my recommendations for some types of plants that thrive in dorm conditions and are really good for college students, especially if you don't have lots of plant care experience. I personally started getting into plants like a year ago, and it was definitely a learning curve. So these are plants that I've learned are pretty easy to care for, even if you're just starting out with plant care. All of these plant recommendations come from my personal experience and are all plants that I have. Most of these plants I had in my dorm the entirety of freshman year, and they did really well there. A couple of these plants I didn't actually have in my dorm. I got them in March once we got sent back from the pandemic, but after caring for them for such a long time, I do also think that they would make great dorm plants. I recommend all these plants to college students because of how easy they are to take care of. These are all plants that don't need lots of water. I water all of them once every 2 weeks. So if you forget, if you end up really busy with schoolwork or something, or if you just don't feel like it one day, they won't die on you, probably. This is in no particular order, though I did save my favorite plant for last, so just stick through to the end to see what that is. And on that note, let's just jump right into the video. Okay, so the first plant I have to show you guys is a snake plant. Snake plants are wonderful plants to keep if you have lower light conditions. They do really well pulled back away from windows, so they'll do well in pretty much any dorm room. Every dorm is going to have low light places. Not every dorm is going to have bright light places. So if you're looking for a plant that you know you'll be able to keep in your dorm, it's a snake plant. Snake plants come in tons of different varieties, which make them really fun to grow and keep because you can have a whole bunch of snake plants that all look completely different. This one here is a cylindrical snake plant. It's got these little spiky like leaf things. I don't really know what to call these. Kind of looks like Wolverine claws. It doesn't really grow much, but it just kind of has a very interesting look to it. My other one, which I will show a clip of here, I don't know the exact variety. If you know, please feel free to comment it down below. I love this one. It was a gift from two of my close friends, and it just had this tiny little baby, and it's been so much fun to watch grow because the baby grows super fast. The rest of the plant doesn't grow very fast, but it's still really pretty with all of this variegation. Snake plants also come in lots of different sizes. So this one here that I have is really small, and there are a lot of really small varieties, but if you're looking for something big, let me show you this one that my dad has in his office, which is massive. Like, this thing is like my size. So you can find a snake plant ranging from this tiny little guy right here to something that massive, depending on what space you want to put it in. Another interesting fun fact about snake plants, because I am a nerd, is that NASA did a huge study in 1989 about houseplants and what chemicals they purify from the air. And snake plants were found to remove trichloroethylene, formaldehyde, and benzene from the air, which basically means having them in your home or your room will help purify the air you're breathing in. So I highly recommend these guys. They're super great for beginners, and you will always have a spot for them in your dorm because they don't really require high light. The next plant on my list is aloe. He's very long. Mine is currently kind of like falling over. I need to add more soil to his pot, but soil is currently on back order. So when I get dirt, he will get fixed. But right now he's just gonna lean. Aloe plants like higher light conditions than the snake plants did. I typically, when I'm home, keep this guy in a bright window right next to the window so he's plenty of light. At college, my dorm room did not have very great natural light. It had one window facing north, which I kept him in, and since I go to college in Chicago, everything's pretty gray, especially during the winter. So he did not get tons of light up there. He still did fine, he just didn't grow as much. Normally, in higher light conditions, he grows really well, and he ended up getting very, very big. He was not nearly this big when I got him. You can find them in smaller or bigger sizes. Also, don't worry if the bottom leaves start to fall off and die. That's sort of just how they grow. They're super easy to care for. He's definitely one of the plants I've had the longest, and he's really thrived for me. Just as long as you have decent light for them. They do best, again, in higher light, so you may want to wait to see what light your dorm has before buying an aloe plant. Definitely make sure this plant gets enough sunlight where it won't grow well, although it'll still probably live in medium sunlight. But even if your dorm has medium lighting, your plant should be fine. Just don't keep it in a low light place. This actually was another plant mentioned in the NASA study. It removes formaldehyde from the air, so it's not as good of an air purifier as the snake plant, but still helps purify your air and will give you better air quality in your dorm. I think aloe plants are really pretty. I don't know, I just like how he looks and how he kind of goes all over the place. I love the little white dots on it. I love the little spikes on the sides of the leaves, and they're just fun plants to have. The next plant on this list is the jade plant. He's really funky looking. I love his pudgy little leaves and how like tall he is. Please ignore the holes in him. My cat tried to eat him because while she is cute, she is extremely stupid, but he's doing fine. He is, again, very drought resistant. Also, he's a lot more tolerant to overwatering, I realize. The reason he's in this pot kind of off-centered is because originally this pot had 2 other succulents, which I killed because I didn't realize how to not overwater succulents for the longest time. You got dust on you. Weird. Anyway, I find him to be a really slow grower. He's grown a bit since I've gotten him, but not very much. His leaves grow in these interesting little pairs. You can see this is like really tiny baby ones. So he hasn't grown for me, he just grows at a really slow pace. And they'll still grow for you, especially if you have him in good lighting conditions. He likes a lot of light, just like the aloe plant. I would recommend only getting him if you know you have decent light in your room. In my college dorm, he did fine in that medium light situation, right in the window. So if you have medium light, he'll do fine. He probably just won't grow as much. Just make sure he's not in low light. So next plant, or well, group of plants on my list are succulents. I have honestly killed a lot of succulents before. I don't think they're as easy as people say because if you overwater them, they will just die, which I have done a lot. But once you learn not to overwater them, they are easy. So that's why they're on this list, because as long as you don't overwater a succulent and you make sure it's in a lot of light, again, this is another kind of plant that likes a lot of light, then it'll do fine. This one I personally did not have in college. This one I got from a girl who, after Northwestern announced they were sending us all home because of COVID, couldn't keep her plants anymore, so I offered to take them. I gave 3 to my one friend and I took this one, and he's honestly been doing really well for me here. He's grown a little bit, gotten a little bit bigger on like these edges here. I love how spiky he is, and I love these little white dots on him. I think he's really cute looking. Again, with succulents, you need high light conditions. I have another succulent who I've had longer. He's kind of struggling right now, and my cat also bit him, which is why the top of him looks really strange. But he is super stretched because he did not get enough sunlight where he was. So just know that that's going to happen with succulents if you have them in too low light conditions. Succulents come in a ton of different varieties, which can be really fun. I don't personally know what this one is. If you do know, please put it in the comments down below. I'd love to figure it out. But there are a lot of different kinds of succulents, most of them on the smaller side. None of them have really pretty colors or patterns on them. Definitely one of the easiest plants to find places, especially since they got really trendy recently. But yeah, as long as you make sure they get enough light and not too much water, they will do fine. And now last but not least is my favorite plant, not only for college students, but my favorite plant that I own, and that is this beauty, my Philodendron Brazil. I'm not gonna hold this one while I talk about it because it's on this plant hanger and honestly it's kind of difficult to hold, but I absolutely adore this plant. So there are a bunch of reasons why the Philodendron Brazil is my favorite plant for college students and myself. Firstly, it grows extremely fast. This plant is constantly putting out new growth, which is really fun to watch, and it has gotten huge over the time I've had it. I've had it for roughly a year, and it just does not stop growing. It also propagates really well. I've taken cuttings from it for both my dad and my sister, and they're rooting up really nicely. And the places where I took the cuttings from are continuing to grow. This plant looks wonderful hanging. I have mine in a macrame wall hanger that I made, hanging from a command hook, which is perfect for in a dorm room where you can't nail anything into walls. You can also put it on top of any sort of dresser, cabinet, or windowsill, and it will look fantastic. I love the variegation. I finally got one leaf that is purely that light green, and it makes me so happy. It's really fun to watch the leaves come in because all of them look different, and sometimes you'll get ones with really interesting patterns or that are mostly that really pretty light green, and it's just sort of fun to watch all of them come in and kind of see what happens with them. I feel like typically this plant I would keep in medium light situations. I wouldn't keep it right in front of a window. You can pull it back a little bit and it will do fine in lower light, which makes it really easy to put in a college dorm. Like the snake plant, you can get this plant and put it in your dorm regardless of your light levels, as long as you have at least medium to low light. Obviously you don't want it somewhere super dark, it still needs light to grow, but it'll do a lot better in lower light conditions than say the succulents or aloe plants. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it inspires you to go out and get some wonderful plants for your dorm. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!